This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, I don't know if you remember seeing this in the chat, but I wrote this down as like the first thing to talk about because I thought it was really interesting. The Halo teabagging.
Oh yeah, I read about that.
All right, so
saw that.
So how weird is it that we're like moving into this zone now of, because you know, like the metaverse and like you know, being PC and all that stuff. It's almost like the stuff we used to do that was just so innocuous. Like when you beat somebody, so if you don't know what teabagging is, it's like where you you squat and then you stand up over and over and over again with your Halo avatar over somebody you just killed. It's kind of like a taunting thing. Yeah, it's kind of like a taunting thing after you kill them in like a very cool way, or just if you just killed them and you just want to like rub it in, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like normal sports video game kind of like behavior, but it's weird now that it's becoming an issue because of I guess like our PC world, and people are moving more into the metaverse and they're taking like digital worlds more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was just thinking like, what were your thoughts on that? Because I thought it was so weird.
Yeah, I think this is weird. I think it's not real, right?
It's not real.
But it's like you know, they're trying to shield you from every single aspect.
Exactly. Yeah. We're becoming
life.
So gentle that even video games are too aggressive. It's almost like, all right, so are you going to ban Street Fighter because it's a fighting video game now, or like,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, we can't play UFC or watch UFC because it's too violent. You know, how far before we, you know, like, I mean, you're literally killing people in this video game. So like,
that's true. That's even worse. Yeah.
Right? You throw bombs, you explode them, you use rocket launchers, you shoot them in the head with a sniper rifle. But the thing that bothered you was teabagging. And it's like, what? You know?
I think if these are not the games for you, why would you play these games?
Yeah, exactly. It's totally. So it's like, why are you even here? Like, this is, you stepped into a realm of what has been going on forever. Like, Halo came out when we were kids, you know? So like to demonize something as innocuous as teabagging, it's like, that's, I mean, I'm pretty sure even teabagging was before that. I'm sure it was like Counter-Strike, they were doing it, you know? Squat stand. It's just like, you're just squat stand. Like, who made up that thing? I'm sure it came from beforehand. Or like Quake, they probably did in Quake 2.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's just more of that. It's more of that like signs of a weirder society that like, where are we headed? You know? Yeah, and I think remember that one where the girl was in the metaverse and then she was like, you were abused by a bunch of people, but it's like, but it's not real. Take the headset off, or like, don't play the game.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess we're in that phase where things are kind of still murky, because remember the beginning Manhunt, the video game for Xbox, and it was like rated R, no, like they didn't want you to play it, they did like no promotion for it, because like you were basically like cutting people up. But like to me it was just a video game. I don't understand why cutting people up is a big issue. It's like, yeah, just don't play the game, or like make it, or like have the age level, which is what they did.
Yeah.
But it's just like, why would you hate so much on a video game? It's not real. I don't know. Does that go for movies too?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of movies that are super violent.
Yeah,
and
right?
stuff, so
So like, do we stop those kinds of movies from being made?
I think it's like some people talking about it, but I don't think as an art expression you can stop that.
Oh, okay. You think it like falls under freedoms of expression and stuff?
Yeah.
Like even Squid Games, that was so popular, right? But there was like violence in that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, do we stop that? I don't understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so weird.
I mean, it's talked about for a long time. Violence in video games.
But this isn't even violence. This is just like an interaction.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why.
Do you remember when you used to get like the machine gun and you used to write things on the wall?
Yeah.
Right? So like if you wrote a bad word on the wall, like is that abusive? You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of the video game is you're just escaping reality, having fun with it. It's meant to be fun. It's like now you're just taking it too seriously that these little things are.
Yeah, I guess some people got really offended, but like, why are you
there? It's like, yeah, I know, right? It's so odd. Okay, so in keeping with that, did you see this second one that I sent where it's like the woman got like she's like lost or whatever, and then they showed the photo and it's like a dude, like with the full. It's like a woman with full goatee, and then they showed the picture. It was a guy, and I was like, this is kind of like the Foxkin thing. Remember the thing in the U.S. where they're like, he went to the DMV and he's like, oh, I identify as a fox, so he actually made his like gender Foxkin. It's like there's these abuses of, like, I don't know, maybe he really identified as that, but it's like when is it okay and when is it not okay? You know what I mean? Like it almost seems like that guy and using his like pronoun being a woman or like his gender being a woman, and it's like you're so evidently not, that it's like, are you just trolling us? And then you see the issue there where they send out the search, right? So like, oh, we're looking for a woman so you're thinking, okay, a woman, like the visual picture in your head is not the visual picture that you see, so you're just like completely confusing everyone. You know, I don't know. Just more things that are kind of confusing to me as we progress into our society. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think for those sort of things, they should just put their name or something.
But like descriptors, right? Like but like I get what you're saying with the name, but like if you're asking people to be on the lookout for this type of person.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah.
You know,
no one's going to think of that person look like that.
The archetype of a woman is not what you're. That's evidently a man. Like you're just choosing the other gender and pronoun, and it's like, but are you doing that because you genuinely feel that way? I don't know. And then if we allow people to do that, it's like, where do we draw the line? Because I don't know if you're serious or you're kidding anymore. You know, like trolling. You know, and then it also goes back to like when Sanjay.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like outside of that. There was some. Was it in? I think it was in soccer now, but it was swimming, where they added that for the transgender stuff. That if you transition after puberty, you can't do like the swimming competition stuff.
Okay. So they made that a thing.
Yeah. I think they did that with soccer just recently.
Okay. But see, that to me makes more sense too, because genetically speaking, they are like women, like men and women are built differently, right? We have more testosterone, more muscle build, and like all that, right? So like, if you do transition, you compete in other sports, you evidently have a stronger advantage than
if you transition post puberty,
and you see that a lot with like all these like transition people are winning these competitions now. You know, it's a big thing in UFC too. That's why, not UFC, MMA.
Okay.
They don't have anybody on the UFC roster, but like in MMA in general, that has happened where like you can't have this person beat up on women because it's like the muscles are different.
Yeah, I think the like after the swimming ruling came out, then the soccer one came out. I feel like it's gonna like trickle down like that.
Right. Okay, so we're definitely in like a transitionary period in our society, right?
Yeah. They're trying to be inclusive, but then there's also like, okay,
much is
what
too
level can we
inclusive?
be inclusive? Because you
Yeah.
have to also think about fairness too, right?
Yeah, we talked about this like I believe like last week, like
Yeah.
inclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be inclusive to the uninclusive person. So it's like, how do you take that into account? You know,
Yeah.
I was asked this thing. We were kind of writing this like charter, like for this group that I was in, and one thing that they put was like, we're not afraid to be our authentic selves, and then I said, well, can we switch it to we respect ourselves and others? No, wait, sorry. We respect ourselves, others, and our environment. Because if you respect something, then you're not going to like be rude to it, right? Because sometimes people are like, "Oh, my authentic self is just rude," you know. But it's like, no, you're not being authentic. You're just being rude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we also need to differentiate what does it mean to be your authentic self, and like, can you celebrate your authentic self? Like, sure, if you want to like dye your hair blue or like transition or get really jacked as a person, like whatever you want to do. But as long as you hold respect for another person, then there'll be no issues, right? Because then I respect you enough to have whatever you like is what you like. I respect that, But if like my version of authenticity is like hating on that, then I'm not being authentic. You know what I mean? Like if my cultural upbringing is like we're with the abortion thing right now, right? If I grew up believing abortions are wrong, so that's my authentic self, right? But if you respect someone, it's like I respect you to make the decision you want to make. Like that might not be for me, but I respect your decision, right? And I think that's enough. It's really what it is we're in this transitionary period where we're like messing up with our definitions. You know what I'm saying? We don't have any globally agreed upon or well thought out definitions of what it is we want to do. It's almost like they use the phrase where it's like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to see what sticks. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
It's like a group thing. They're like, oh, let's just throw something at the wall, see whatever, what's working, right? But I feel like that's how companies fail, right? If you look at it like a business case. So if society is like a business case, if you're just going forward without any direction, then we're just like, wishy-washy about everything. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah.
you agree? Or do you see a different point of view on that?
No. I think definitions, clearly understanding what definitions are really matters.
Yeah, right. And especially if we're
because then you're not going to be able to communicate with each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what do you mean by this? Like, it happens all the time, right? Like we talk about like enlightenment all the time. Like, what do you mean by enlightenment? Because I can say I got enlightened to something. Does that mean I'm enlightened now? Like, oh, I didn't know that about something. Oh, you enlightened me to that. Or we were talking about science, right? Theory versus hypothesis.
Yeah.
Last week. So if we're not on the same page on the definition, we're just all confusing one another. And I feel like that's where we are as a society. As we're trying to move forward in this thing, it's like we're all just confused, and we're going with like taglines.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, diversity and inclusion. I agree with it, but it's like, but what do you mean by diversity and inclusion? And it's just really whose definition of diversity and inclusion, or whose definition of, woman, whose definition of fairness, whose, yeah, I don't know. It's just like with all those things that I saw in the media and then like being exposed to things, I'm just kind of wary about where we're going as a society now. Yeah. You've any like anything to add to that or?
No, just like where we're going. Again, it's like societies change and they go through different phases. So we're in a phase. Well, I don't want to say it's a phase, but it's like we're in where we're in right now, and we're gonna find a way out of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Right. It's just like with a sports situation. Like we knew that was an issue, but the issues are now being addressed or slowly being addressed. Right. Like certain things.
Do you think we'll ever hit a point where?
Well, I think we'll always have something to talk about or some issues to deal with.
For sure. But do you think we'll ever have a point where we're all like, okay, we all agree we're moving in this direction? Or do you think it'd always be like whatever way the wind blows? Because it feels like whatever way the wind blows
I
is
think
how we're going right now.
yeah, I think that kind of generally would
Well, I guess that's like the definition of democracy, though, right?
Yeah,
Because democracy is whichever way the wind blows, whatever the people want, right? Whereas like more communist totalitarian style, like kingdomship, which is what it used to be before, is like they would, the more I think about it, it's almost like kingdoms are the best way to do it, because you generationally bring up somebody as the next successor. You tell them everything. That like, this is what it takes to rule society. But then like if you have somebody who just like gets voted in, it does become a popularity contest. So it's like that which way is the best way to govern people. And it seems to me like kingdoms of how it was before, it's like we all aren't privy to the same information. So like all right, tomorrow if I ran, right, and everyone voted me in, I'd be like, guys, I don't know anything about global policy. I'd have to be like brought up to speed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So that's literally how it is for people who are voted in. Like we saw that with Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
And like how long we've been studying foreign policy. Oh, this is your first time studying it? You know what I mean? And they have to be brought up to speed. So it seems like there's a deficit in that way of like governance versus succession, which is like kingdoms. You just keep bringing, although obviously it can be corrupt in both ways, because like if a king is corrupt, then you're kind of messed up as a society. But then alternately you can trick people into voting for somebody that they think is good but is not actually good. Yeah, what do you think?
But in that kind of scenario, people have no choice, right? Kingdom scenario.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. There is no choice, but which way is the better way to run things?
I think which way is the better way just depends on the situation that we're in. So what I mean by that is like we're not in a kingdom anymore. We're in a democracy, so we make the best of democracy.
Okay, so what you're saying is you have no.
No, I think because I don't think there's anything like right and wrong in that sense, right? Like we evolved out of kingdoms to this, right? Like this is where we come to now. Like we don't really have as much of a kingdom anymore.
Okay, so you're saying like make the most of the situation that you have.
No, I think like maybe like this is just how we go through with it. Like maybe the why isn't kingdom anymore here because it didn't work
because of corruption.
Yeah.
Right, like we saw that with
the France. But I think like with anything can get corrupted, right? So
right.
That's just the human flaws of humans or whatever, right? So it's like
I see your point, but looking at it objectively as like a species, like as an animal,
sure.
To me it seems like kingdoms seem like the best way to go. It's like that's why you have CEOs for companies. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't vote in a CEO.
Yeah.
Like how does Apple become so successful? The person on top chose the next one in line. Successions. Like nobody voted Tim Cook in.
No. But they can have a confidence vote within the shareholder. Shareholder. What do you call that?
Yeah,
the board meeting. The board.
But it's not every single person. You still have the people at the higher ups choosing who that next person is going to be. Like no, it's CEO picks. So Steve Jobs picked Tim Cook.
Yeah.
And then if there's a vote of no confidence, that's like later on if you're messing up. That's kind of like a safeguard.
Sure.
But that's like still kingdomship. Like you're still creating a succession line. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So objectively speaking, that's why I believe that kingdoms make more sense, because you see it working with companies, and people are just like a giant company. Are they not? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more
like not everyone votes for the CEO.
Yeah, no.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Then it would just be a popularity contest, and they'd be like, I don't like you today.
That's what happens in more of like a, what do you call that?
Democracy?
Not Yeah, like what? No. Not a co-op. What are they? like within
Commune?
not I can't remember get the word but something like the commune, like it's like run by the workers, and then
Yeah, co-op.
yeah,
It's co-op.
okay,
Yeah. No, there's no leader in a co-op.
yeah.
You're cooperatively working together. But that makes no sense too, because okay, if you look at the most successful way things get created, a co-op's not going to do it, right? Because what company's a co-op? The closest one was Mountain Equipment Co-op, but that was just more of a name because like they said, oh, everyone owns the company, and they went bankrupt.
And no real co-op is like, I think there's like one of the biggest ones, I think somewhere in Europe, but it's also hierarchical.
Exactly.
Like
You need hierarchies.
yeah.
That's again why I keep saying it's like, I feel like kingdoms are the way to go. If you just read into history, if you just look at, businesses, if you look at society, how society operates, society's built off of business. So it's like, if we have a all right, I'm not saying that I'm like crazy communist, but I just think that it would run more smoothly if, for example, global warming, we all believe that's an issue, right? I heard that the bill got curtailed, so now it's not like a thing. Like we're not making it like a big issue, so people can start polluting again. Companies can start polluting. So it's like if you had more of a kingdomship, they'd be like, no, global warming is a thing. I don't care what you think. We're just going to, solve this problem. But because we have a democracy, it's just people going back and forth. It's crazy to me, you know? Yeah. No, yeah, like what do you think?
I prefer democracy.
Oh, of course, but why? Like, so why? You just like it because
for choice. Yeah.
So the
fact that you can put in or take out leaders that you don't
like, but then
that don't do well.
But then, do you see the fallacy of somebody not?
Does the progress slow?
No, not about progress, but like, okay, so you believe that somebody is better fit for a job, but then 20 other people are like, nah, you're wrong. But you're like, guys, we're going in the wrong direction. What are you guys doing? So it's like, if we're here for like democracy, and then everyone says, oh, slavery is totally cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you're like, oh, well, everyone said it was cool. Like, just because everyone says something is good doesn't mean it's actually good.
Yeah.
But that's democracy.
Yeah. Same thing can happen with any kind of leader.
For sure.
Kingdom leader, right?
I totally agree with you. But like, I'm saying if we're moving towards the correct... See, all right, the difference between a democracy and a kingdomship is if there was a kingdomship and like you trust the leaders involved, if you really don't like them, you would do exactly the same thing that you would for a company. You'd like boycott. Not boycott, you'd strike, right? If you're in a company you didn't like how it was being run, strike.
Yeah.
Right? You technically
the word was union. I just remembered. Sorry.
Union?
Yeah.
Well, but what do you mean a union? How would that work?
I'm saying like how unions, that's a bit of like...
Because somebody's representing you in a union.
Yeah.
It's like you're just working together.
Yeah, but it's like kind of outside of...
Technically, we do run like a union because you have these different municipal leaders that are like rallying for you. Or maybe I'm not understanding the situation well enough to advocate purely for democracy.
Because there's different levels, right? Like there's local governments that...
No, but right, so I agree with you. Right? But like to me, like if you're listening to this, you're like, no, kingdoms would not work. But maybe my understanding of government policy isn't up there. And that's why I feel like we're just a confused herd. You know?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, well, with COVID, they shut down everyone in China. Do you want to be like that? And it's like, no, but, at least they're moving in one unified direction. It's just like uniformity. I just feel like we're like bumping our heads into one another.
Well, I guess that'll be every 4 years, right? When we pick another leader.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know. It just seems like Or maybe I'm just like fed up with the system, and I'm just like,
But I think this
something
is
needs to change.
yeah, probably
maybe
like
that's
that. Yeah,
why.
things like that. Like your system will work, but like it's like when we get minority governments, or like when we get like in the U.S. like the stuff is 50-50, right? 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats.
Right.
That just means that like everyone's like split in where to go.
Yeah, we're confused.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
don't have a unanimous.
Yeah, so like
Decision.
when a majority happens or something, so that's more like everyone is agreeing on something, right? Where now we have disagreements, we have issues.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but I think the thing that's like bothering me is why are we having such like all right, to go to climate change, like Republicans generally don't believe in climate change, liberals do, right? Or whatever
Yeah, yeah,
the sides are, and and if we just look at science and you're like, no, it does show that there, like, obviously climates do change, but we are having an impact on it. We are contributing to climate change, right? If you just agreed upon that scientifically without any hidden agenda, because like Republicans, maybe they have money invested in oil, so like, well, we'll lose our money if we vote in this direction. You know what I'm saying? Sort of like how when voting was happening, then your workplace was kind of like, make sure you, not yours, but like we both know workplaces where they're like, make sure you vote for this party because we need them to get into government.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then that's kind of like skewing our vote in that way. I'm just being leveraged by your opinion versus like what is the best way to move forward. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like we're all, I don't know, being manipulated into directions that we don't fully understand. And I feel like no individual can fully understand it. So we need somebody who's a kingdom person, like a succession person, like solve this problem for us. That's all your job is. And if you don't solve it, we'll kill you just like people in France. Remember that? The revolt?
Yeah.
Right? They were all starving. What'd they do? Everyone just killed the monarchy. So it's like, that can happen to you. So make sure you do a good job. Right? I feel like that's a better way to go.
Sure.
But you disagree.
I just like democracy.
But like, why though? It's like
my
don't understand
my
why.
thinking
like,
is because of choice, because you can choose those leaders.
okay, totally. But then now rebuttal to what I was saying, like disprove my point then about
Yeah, but then
moving in the correct
you
direction.
can go in the direction that the people want.
But I'm saying if people are just confused because nobody can actually understand the issue, it's just
Yeah,
popularity
until
contest.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're in the stage of trying to figure that out, right?
No, but we've never figured it out though.
No, that's why we've progressed to where we're at, right?
Okay, but that was like all
Like,
right, so
if
give me an
kingdom was the
example.
best option, we would still have a kingdom.
No, that was no. We're only here because the Americans didn't want to be ruled by a kingdom, so they created America, and then America became Canada.
No, and that's fine. But that's where we're at, right?
But in
Even in England,
Yeah.
the Queen doesn't have power in that sense. They're still voting their leaders, right?
yeah, okay.
So even they shifted over in a way in order for their kingdom or their queen to survive. Well, they had to shift over to allow people to vote.
Right. So your argument is that the reason why it's good is because that's how it progressed over time.
Yeah, no, I think that no one kingdom or one person of a queen or king can solve all the problems. That you need to have these sort of things to affect local.
Okay. So I'll take that. So maybe we realize that one kingdom can't solve the problem. But I think now we're also realizing that democracy can't solve the problem. So we need like a combination of the two. You know what I'm saying? Like back then in America.
What is the combination of the two?
Okay, so back then in America, you could only vote if you owned a certain amount of land. And the reason why that they said that is because they knew that you had to have some level of education to understand what's going on. So it's almost like we need like a quiz before you can vote. Like, what does this issue mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the answer. Like we need something that's not a kingdom, and we need something that's also not a full democracy, because both aren't working.
Yeah, they have like a little bit different. Even their system works differently in America too, because you can actually vote on things.
Vote on individual issues?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't know that.
that's how like certain states have marijuana legalized. That was voted from the people.
But that's like that's federal versus local, right?
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like
Can't we do that here? Federal versus
no,
local?
you can't. No, we don't vote for issues. We vote for parties or leaders.
Oh,
We never
interesting.
voted for issues. They can vote for issues.
Okay, interesting. But I mean, if you also look at the governance of America, it's not the epitome. So
Yeah, but there's like I like that whole idea of voting for actual issues, because then
no, that is good too. But maybe that's the thing. Now that we have the internet, it's like we have like a multiple. So instead of voting for a person, maybe it's like a whole list of things, and then you just choose the ones that you agree with. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's the next form of government. I don't know. We need to incorporate the internet now, because we saw it with like vaccine passports. Because people are like, oh, you could just fraud your vote. It's like, yeah, you could, but then wouldn't we have fraudulently done the vaccine passport? No, that worked well. So we know that security is not an issue. So we need to rethink our governance structure. But the only way to do that, to really revamp things, is to do what the original Americans did. They left their country and started a whole new country. You need to start from scratch. Right? Make sense?
yeah,
Because how else are you going to do it? Or just be like, yeah, don't worry, your jobs don't actually matter anymore.
it's gonna be when you've already built the system, right?
How do you undo
Either
the
you'd
system?
have to fix it from within,
But how do you do that?
but like how are you gonna get a person to do those kinds of things? Like it's
Crazy.
yeah.
All right, did you hear this? Like, let me bring up this weird thing that I just heard it, and I was like, no, of course that would happen. So, like, Nancy Pelosi in America, apparently she's like a better I heard this on Joe Rogan. We don't really know, but a lot of guests were agreeing with this. This is like the big scandal going on right now. So she's actually a better investor than Warren Buffett and I forgot who the other guy was, but it's because she's privy to insider information. So technically it's insider trading, but it doesn't count as insider trading. So she invested in like EVs and stuff, but she knew the bill was going to be passed. So she's just like, you know, and they're like, oh, this is the way we're going to go. All right, cool. I'll invest in electric vehicles because I know you're going to make us all get in electric vehicles. So that's like insider trading, right? You know, insider trading?
Yes.
Okay. Or if people
I don't think you can do that though.
Apparently she was doing that. Like this is the big scandal. She's been doing that. That's how she made so much money. And like it's coming out now.
I think you can't do that though.
Okay, but she's been doing that. So
Right. So
now it's coming out. And like how many other people have been doing that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like that needs to be rectified as well. Like there's so many issues. Okay, let me just park that for a second. If you don't know what insider trading is, it's like if you're investing in the stock market and you know information that the public doesn't know, you can't invest in that stock because that's like it's unfair advantage. So like if you're the CEO of Coca-Cola and you know that Coca-Cola is going to go under and you tell your cousin to invest in Coca-Cola, that's insider trading because then he's privy to information that the public doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That in itself is an issue because it's like, how do you stop that from happening? You're at a dinner table, you're like, hey man, you know Coca-Cola's going under. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you stop that at all? Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's an issue with that. There's an issue with government. I just feel like we're like, especially with information, it's just like you can't stop. Like, it's like everything is coming to light now. I mean, the internet really is the age of enlightenment. We're really finding out about a lot of stuff that we did not know about.
Yeah.
You know, it was easily hidden before because we didn't have the information.
Yeah, but then everybody also acts like they know everything.
Yeah, okay, yeah, facts.
That's another issue too.
But then these are the people voting? Like, what? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why when you're like, oh, democracy, everyone gets a choice, it's like, but we know that humans are skewed. Like, I will give up my vote in favor of, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson making, like he gets 2 votes if I give up my vote. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I trust you. You have a better handle on what's going on than I do. I'm going to forfeit my vote to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. We need to figure that part out. It's just like, it seems very, I don't know, like rigged. Rigged is the word.
Which is rigged.
Like everything seems like everything seems like it's in the benefit of somebody else that we don't know who's benefiting. So for example, like we were saying with the COVID, but now it's being, laxed upon, like with the vaccines and stuff, how it was a big push. And then like statistically, we're finding out that, maybe it's actually not working as well as we thought, and then because people were still getting COVID, even though they had like 3rd and 4th boosters, right? So it's like, well, you promised me it wouldn't happen this way. You know what I'm saying? And then you find out through like business wars that AstraZeneca gave it for a lower price because they got promised that they would have more marketing for the boosters. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you see that these backroom deals are going on, that's what I mean by rigged. It's like, who's benefiting from this? And then you find out later that somebody's been benefiting, like the Nancy Pelosi thing. Right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like that's like we're in a state of dire change necessary. Like we really need change to happen.
Yeah.
And the old way's not working. Yeah. Yeah. No thoughts on that?
I think we're just in that phase. We're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always been like that. There's always some issue going on. Like we'll end up still moving forward. Because I was watching this movie, like Battle of the Sexes, yesterday. And just like how people just talked about women were like...
Oh, back then?
Yeah, back then. It's like we don't... Like there's no way we can speak like that today.
No, for sure. Yeah, like PC. It's not PC.
It's not about PC. It's just like them actually not... Like treated them as equals.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like how easily it was just normal to say, they should be in the kitchen and stuff. That was just normal. There was nothing like weird about saying that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that it's like a time.
Yeah.
But that's why people die. Like we need them to die to move on.
Yeah. That's why it's just we'll change and progress as time goes on.
Continuous change and progression.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, which is a great segue into the idea of like us being in the Kali Yuga. So, like I was telling you yesterday, the yugas are cyclical phases within time. So essentially, within spirituality or religion, there's 2 ways to go about it. The Abrahamic religions believe that we're heading towards an endpoint, which is like an Armageddon, right? And the more cyclical, I'd say, religions and spiritual sects believe in waves, right? Like cycles of time. You probably heard like the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the Golden Age, then it goes back to, then it resets itself. We are currently in the destruction phase according to the yugas. And it started in 93 according to this book that I read about, the phases. And it's just interesting that the internet came about in 93. So it's like when we're now all the things that we're talking about make total sense. It's like, it is the destruction of the ignorance era. Like through the internet, like even me saying like, we need change. It's like only because I'm like privy to buying books on Amazon. That was not a thing before. You couldn't, or book reviews, like, or what are some good books that I should read on like history? The internet brought that about. If I went to the library before, because this is crazy too. So I didn't know that libraries don't carry every single book.
Oh yeah.
Of course, it makes total sense now. But when you're a kid, you're like, oh, these are all the books that are available in the world. Or when you go to a library, right? And then as you're an adult, you would also think like, these are all the books that are available in the world. But then with the internet, it's like a book can be published in a different country, you know, and you can have it shipped to you,
Yeah.
you know, and that level of access is creating such an illumination that now we're starting to see all the problems that we had. But I guess you could technically say like, you know, printing press started that as well. So like during that time, it was the end of their ignorance.
I think the access to information is the enlightening.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. But that's what enlightenment means, right? It's like, oh, you enlighten me to something. It's like a eureka moment, right? So the fact that we're constantly given this level of, you know, access to enlightenment, well, one, you should take advantage of it, and two, it's what's crumbling the system right now. You know, there are like thoughts that, for example, you're like, I have no idea what Marxism is. You can just quickly watch a YouTube video on that and you're up to speed.
Yeah.
And then you start asking yourself, should we go in that direction or this direction? You know, that's the idea of the crumbling of the system, because then you start to see other ways of doing things, other ways of life.
Yeah.
And you're like, are we doing it the best way? You know, I don't want to sound like a friggin' like a anti-Western, you know, because remember I was like, oh, kingdoms, but you're like, oh, I like democracies. And I'm like, I don't think that's the right way to go anymore, you know? And then people listen to that initially will be like, oh, you're like a communist or something, right? And I'm like, no, just read into different ways of governance and you pick the one that you think sounds the best. I'm just seeing the pitfalls according to what time we're in, like, you know? Yeah. Corruption and all that.
Yeah, we're not allowed to. This is the thing with borders. We can't just go to a different country.
That's another thing. It's like, that makes no sense. Like, no, but I get it from like a GDP standpoint.
No, I get it all from that because we built the system that way. But it's just like we didn't have, like, you know, we were nomads. So it's like, oh, this area is not really working for me. This is not my kind of place.
That's natural to human beings.
I can just go somewhere else.
Now we have like laws that restrict us from doing that.
Yeah.
You know? And so, or even just what you said, right? So if you were born and you're like, oh, this is the world the way it is, right? But how did you learn about nomad life?
Right, yeah.
The internet.
The internet.
Remember you like downloaded, like that friggin', everyone should watch this, The Incredible Human Journey. You had that on USB. Where'd you get it? The internet. You brought it over. We watched it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know we were like nomadic peoples that all came from Africa.
Yeah.
You know, but if you know that, then you start questioning society as a whole. Like, why do we have borders then? But that can be answered through like business, you know?
Yeah.
But then why do we have racism if we all came from Africa? You know what I'm saying? Like you start asking more questions, more whys, and then you want to answer those whys. And we have the ability to answer those whys now.
Right.
But that's not how the old system was built. The old system was built off of like a lack of information. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and only the upper class would be able to read, for instance.
That's okay. All right.
Like to have majority of your population being able to read is a very recent thing.
Yes. Thank you. So what was that? The Postman? Or not a Postman, the Tom Hanks movie.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what it was called, but he was like going around reading the newspaper to people.
News of the World.
Reading the news. Yeah, News of the World. Yeah.
All right, so go watch the News of the World. That was like, what, 200 years ago or something like that? Not that long ago.
Probably not even 200 years.
Yes. So nobody could read. So you had to rely on one person to read the newspaper to you. So if those people who couldn't read had to vote a person into government office, but they don't even understand what it is, like they're using a third party person to explain everything to them. You know, how can you trust the vote of those people that couldn't read? That's my problem. I'm not saying that people can't read now. I'm just saying like we can't all be educated to every single issue. So when you're voting somebody in office, I admittedly do not know all of the issues. And if you tell me you know all of the issues, either you really do and that's your job, or you're lying to me.
Yeah.
So how can you trust any of our votes? It's just a guessing game, right?
It's a guessing game? What do you
It's a
mean?
guessing game because it's like, I heard that they'll do this. Did you read that, or you told me that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when we were voting for the last one, I went NDP, and I was gonna go Liberal, but then your brother was explaining the two situations to me. I didn't read them at all. I trusted your brother on what his perspective was. And then I was like, but then my sister was saying that it's a throwaway vote if I go NDP because nobody votes for them. And then your brother was like, hey, if you don't vote for them, they'll never get in office. I was like, you know what? You're right. So I'm going to vote for them. I zero research. I just went back and forth on people's opinions, and then I voted. I'm actively admitting that that happened. How many other people do that and don't admit that? You know what I'm saying? Dude, that's crazy to me. At least I'm admitting my hypocrisy. And so that's my issue with democracy. Like when you're like, oh, people get choice. I'm like, yeah, but the choices are dumb. I admit my choice was dumb. I didn't know anything about like what was going on.
But you're still leaning in that direction. Did you lean towards conservative direction, right?
But according to what your brother told me.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So I didn't do any research. So if your brother was like, actually, the conservatives are going to give everyone $1 million, I'd be like, oh, really? Oh, I'll vote for them. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, if I don't fully understand the issue, how can you trust my vote? And I'm actively admitting that I don't know the issue.
Yeah.
But a lot of people lie to you and be like, of course I know politics. What? I read that stuff? Like, really? You do? Really? Like, maybe you do, like you, Vish, because like you actively read that stuff and you tell me what's going on. But like, how many people are doing that?
Yeah, most people not, I would say.
Right?
Yeah.
And you listen to talk radio in the morning to hear more about the issues from an expert. How many people are doing that? Most people are just focused on their day to, let me just get an A to B. You know, and entertain myself in the transit.
Yeah.
Right? This is my issue with our current governance system.
Sure.
But do you agree? Like, can you see the fault in that, or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's why you can pick people like Trump, right? That's what
Exactly.
happens.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and they just believe it because their idea is, but who knows? Maybe he was correct. Like that's
I
a
think
knee-jerk reaction. But maybe he did do a bunch of good things. I don't actually know. I do not care about politics.
Yeah.
So
I think most people don't. That's why most people don't vote, right?
Exactly. But all right. So this is the crazy part. Most people don't care about politics, right? It's boring. Straight up, it's boring.
Yeah.
But we all have the power to vote someone to lead us. We should probably take that way more seriously.
Yeah.
But
So it depends on the country, right? So like in Australia, if you don't vote, you're fined. I think.
Totally. I'll vote. No, I'll vote. I don't want to get fined. But that's why you should do like a quiz before you vote. Like, what are these people what are their positions? Or like at least have like a 1-page rap sheet before you vote. You have to read everything. You have to sign.
Well, that's
that
what
you
they're trying to
acknowledge that
do. I guess that's the whole point of now that they use social media is trying to send their information of what they, as a party or individual, are trying to do. They're trying to get your vote, right?
For sure. But unless you make it entertaining through a reel or a TikTok like Jagmeet Singh, who does the left or right walk. Remember, like have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to walk to the left or the right according to what your issue is. I'm like, unless you make it that entertaining, I'm not going to pay attention. And even if it is that entertaining, I usually just keep scrolling because I'm like, I don't care what you're doing, bro. Like, everyone believes you're going to change the world? Sure, let's vote for you. You know
Well, that's the whole point of trying to get people to find ways to pay attention to you, right?
For sure.
To listen to you.
But again, going back to like my issue with democracy is that it is a popularity contest because you literally are just trying to entertain me for your vote. But the power is, I'm literally telling you, you can choose the rules of the way I live my life. That is so powerful. If you heard it like that, it's like if they switch the thing like vote today, right? If they switch that slogan to this will decide the way you live the rest of your life, I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta really pay attention.
Yeah.
You know? But the word vote is so overused that we just, another 4 years, all right, I gotta vote.
Yeah. But again, for the people didn't vote, right? A lot of people did not vote.
Probably because they were like, I'll be a hypocrite if I vote. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's message got to them.
Which is an issue. We should like do a revote or something. Like there should be a minimum standard of voting, you know? If like 20% of people vote, you're like, okay, well, 80% of the country is going to be pissed off. You know, and then all we do is we just, oh, see, you didn't vote. You know, we get upset at them for not voting. But it's like, no, you just didn't. The system's not working. Right? Like,
yeah, I think, again, it's like, I think it's just, we're in that phase, right? Where,
yeah, for sure. And I think that this Kali Yuga that we're in, this destruction era, is most likely, I really don't think it's going to be the end of the world. Like, like we were talking about, you saw this recently, Graham Hancock has been saying this forever because he studied it. Although he is not a historian, what was it, like an archaeologist or whatever. They call him a pseudoscientist, but he's like, no, I'm a journalist, and I'm seeing that there's this pattern that humans have been around for like so much longer than we thought, and then science is now catching up. Like you were saying, that they think that we've been around for millions of years.
Yeah.
So if that's true.
Well, I don't want to say humans. I think it's like one of our ancestors to the humans. So we must be older than
like what they believe is like 10,000 years.
Yeah, the original,
You know, and yeah. Wow, I lost my train of thought. I was thinking too fast on the history of there. But okay, so to go back to governance, it's like even that, the fact that we don't know fully our history is another big issue.
Okay, why?
Because it's like we don't even know where we are, so how can we go forward to where we're going to go? You know what I'm saying? Like if we don't know, okay, all right, I'll bring it to like a more recent time. If you don't know World War II exists, then how can you look back at it as a lesson of World War II? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You might go forward and you're like, let's start a World War II, but you didn't know that like we should learn from history.
Okay.
You know, so if we don't know that we've been around for millions of years, like, what are the lessons that we're losing in that? If we are cyclical, right? Oh, this is my idea. If humans have been around for millions of years, and theoretically that, according to science and what he was saying, Graham Hancock, that asteroidal impacts, like climate change has happened, and if we've been around for millions of years, most likely our species is going to survive. Right? So I don't think this Kali Yuga that everyone's talking about, or like this Armageddon that people believe, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, yeah, it might kill most of us. Apparently, like, we got down to 700 people at one time because of a giant volcano, but we built ourselves, we're at like almost a trillion, or no, not a trillion, sorry. 8 billion. We're almost at 8 billion now.
Yeah.
From 700 to 8 billion.
Are you sure 700? 700 sounds so less.
Yeah, no. It was in his like science thing. Like if something
like it's pockets of areas, or just 700 in one area.
No, I think 700. Theoretically, that's what he said. It was a super volcano that like killed most of us, and it just the hunter gatherers survived. Like human beings got down to like 700. Yeah, I gotta go back, like to fact check that. I gotta go back and watch all those.
Well, some significant small number.
Yeah, very small number. Yeah. Yeah, because I watch and read a lot of like that history stuff, so it's like I don't know where to pinpoint that to like prove it to you, but yeah, we got down to a very small number, and then we're back at like 8 billion. So like if climate change kills most of us, like I'm sure we'll bounce back
as a species.
And then even that, it's like, how did have you ever heard of I think it's the Mayans, the Incas in Machu Picchu? So I learned about this one while I was there. You know those like, it's like looks like a step ladder. It's like a giant circle, and then it like goes in elevation.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I have a photo of it. If you're listening to this, like basically it's like rings that like elevate at steps. I think that's a bad description, but yeah. So apparently that was to create different climates within one area. So they were able to grow multiple different kinds of food, and they actually had so much food that they were able to like feed every single person like twice over. Like they just had such an abundance of food.
Right.
And then in doing that, they became one of the most spiritual and scientific nations. Like they were revered. That's what Machu Picchu is. It was like a school for all of the leaders to come and like lead. It wasn't until I think the Spanish that came and just slaughtered everyone that like that game over and they ran to the Amazon. But apparently like that kind of society was like a utopia because everyone was fed. They were just like focusing on like science and like spirituality and like, you know, advancing their way of life.
Right.
So it's like when you hear about that kind of way of living, you're kind of like, are we doing it the best way? You know? But again, going back to enlightenment, I would have only known that, you know, well, I guess travel brought me there, but you can also read about this online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the more you learn, the more you're like questioning, are we doing it the correct way?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But, you know, there is a point in your life where you just stop learning and then you're just like, the way the world is the way the world is.
It's all about how much you can control and change.
What do you mean? Oh, so
Like
you
how
think
much
people just stop learning because they're like, I don't want to deal with this.
There's a level of how much you can like control the surroundings or like change. Like if you're not,
it's like defeatist. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is my life because like you feel like defeated by life. You're like, I can't change anything, so I'm just gonna live my life passively. Yeah. And I mean, I wonder how many people are like that, right?
probably not.
We're in a very privileged state to even be learning about these things and like having this conversation and recording this conversation. Like it's very privileged, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, these were sentient choices. When people talk about like living consciously, it really just means like conscious means aware. So live aware of the decisions that you're making. And we actively chose like, I don't want to enslave myself in the wrong way, you know? But how many people just live like asleep?
Yeah, but we have
And
again.
those
I
people
think
are
it's like,
voting, Vish. Those people are voting according to democracy.
yeah, but you wouldn't have access to all this without, like, if it was all kingdom ruled. Let's just say, right?
But no, but
Would an
they were a
individual
but they
have
were a
the
kingdom
freedom?
too, though. That's why I brought it up.
Them?
The Incas, yeah,
The Incas?
yeah, because their leader was like, "Hey, people need to not starve." So he was thinking sentiently, like, "Let me."
Yeah, you can have good leaders like that, but then
But maybe the problem is if you have a good kingdom, like let's say you have a utopia, there's barbarians at the gate, because that's why they failed, because the Spanish came and killed everyone. You know, so maybe that's the problem with having utopia. You're weak.
you can't. Yeah.
I actually don't know any utopia that didn't get crumbled. Because another utopia is Cambodia. Their Jayavarman II. That's I keep referencing, but that's the statue I have at the bottom of the dude meditating. Yeah, the black statue. I bought that because he was the leader that focused on meditation as his way of like. That's why he's sitting in meditation, because he said like that's the way forward. So like they created almost like a utopia as well. To make people's lives better, but then they got wiped out again by invading people.
Yeah.
So maybe you can only sustain a utopia for so long before somebody destroys
Like, that's
you.
what I'm saying. Like, everything goes through changes. So it's like maybe that same society that went in and did that, they'll end up becoming more meditative society. And then again,
Oh my God! Wait! Maybe that's all right. So maybe we're
it's a cycle.
like in America, right? So you're like with the teabagging that we brought up in the beginning, or like the identification states. Maybe that is the epitome of a utopia. We accept everyone, but in doing that, China's gonna come in and destroy America. Like, you know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah.
Like that could be like maybe the downfall of every utopia is a country with a bigger stick.
That's why they're in a clash right now. Like,
Oh,
what level of
dude.
utopia we get into?
Maybe
That's
that's the
why.
thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that is what. Oh, maybe that is the Kali Yuga, like the destruction of, like, you know that saying where it's like, hard times create
Yeah.
good times create soft men or something like that, and then like soft men create hard times.
Yeah.
Like that cyclical nature. Maybe we really are in the soft times, and we are like in a utopia, or we're about to enter into a utopia, but that won't last long because there's always a barbarian at the gate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's why, like, that again. That's why, like, it's 50-50. Like, there's people that are inclusive.
Holy crap, dude!
Are
Wait,
not
hold on.
inclusive.
This is
That's
actually
the
tripping me
clash.
out as we're speaking, because they talk about the Egyptians being perfect, right? But then, as a utopian society, that's why we're all like, oh, we should go back to the Egyptians, whatever. But then it wasn't until like Rome and Greece came, destroyed them, bigger stick. And Rome was built off the ideology of conquering.
Like America, like we're all in that mixed phase. Like America still has the bigger stick
Luckily.
as the
So maybe,
as they have a base everywhere around the world.
right. So maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll be the first like society in all of history to actually make a utopia sustainable because they have the biggest stick and they're moving towards like inclusivity, utopian rights.
Yes, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. I'm just speculating. I'm just saying, like, that didn't click until this conversation where it's like, yeah, utopias all got destroyed. Like these perfect civilizations.
Yeah, from outsiders.
From outsiders, yeah, barbarians at the gate. That's what friggin' China, Mulan, China,
And the Hun, yeah, the
Genghis
Huns.
Khan or whatever,
Yeah.
the Huns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't Genghis Khan. They're totally different. The Huns came and destroyed China. China apparently was a utopia at that time too. Interesting.
But they go through phases. Like China's still here. Right. We have a different
Playing
kind of
the long
society
game.
now.
Yeah, true. Different kind of society. Yeah, that's weird.
Like society will still be here, just different kind of society.
Yeah, facts. Interesting.
That's what I mean. Like what's right and wrong, or which was the best. Is like
No, a very Taoist perspective. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
it's
just trying to see like
we go through the flows of stuff. That's whatever's happening, right? So
for sure. No, I agree with you.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
I was taking a step down from Taoism. Like Taoism is just acceptance, right? And then the step down is like now I'm using objective logic.
which one is better?
Yeah, that's why I was asking you, like, objectively speaking. Like, I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
it just is what it is. But objectively speaking, I'm curious.
That's what I'm saying. Well, yeah. So it's like it depends on how the society will survive. Like again, you have to deal with outsiders, right? So
Yeah, that is a big issue. Interesting. Yeah, anything else for the next topic?
no, I don't know.
Okay. So, well, I don't know what too much time is it because we got to hit up that Cirque du Soleil.
It's 1:07 right now.
We're at 107? Okay, I got to wrap this up then. Okay, well, I'll make this super quick. So Sisyphus, the story I was telling you yesterday, like in that parallel myths, the book that I finished. So what tripped me out is the story of Sisyphus. We all use it as an analogy for like struggle, but if you actually read the entire story as it is, it's actually about not messing with the gods. Because the reason why Sisyphus was punished was because he like stole death or something, and then the gods were like, he tricked the gods into believing that he didn't do what he said, and then they got pissed at him. So they're like, okay, we're just gonna make you roll this boulder up for infinity, right? And like people will look at that as an analogy for like, sometimes that's just life. You just got to go through the struggle. But I'm thinking like it's more about like don't mess with the nature of things and always respect the gods. You know, that's how, if you read the full thing, that's how it comes off to me.
Right. Okay.
But like nobody reads the full thing. It's kind of like it goes back to voting. Nobody actually looks at the full issue, and we're just running off these like half truths.
Yeah, it's just being told. Someone told them. It's like the
Yeah.
it's like the message thing.
Telephone.
Yeah, it's a telephone message thing where one person says it this way.
Yeah, and then you come back at the end, you're like, that's not even what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to, like,
But I think that's what
don't know.
happens. Like, it's going to change based on, I think, each individual's perspective, right?
that's
what they
all
take
life
from
is
this.
just a perspective though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, like, what you got was from your perspective. I think someone else will get a different perspective,
Facts, yeah.
right? Or even from the same story you just read. Yeah.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. So then that's why we need a solid king to be like, no, this is actually what it really means. What I'm trying to say is that it's almost like we can't even discern for ourselves unless you do the hard work of figuring out how to discern for yourselves.
That's why we picked the leaders to do those decisions for us.
Facts, yeah. But we don't even have the ability to choose the leader correctly because nobody even cares about the actual issues. That's why it became a popularity contest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just like, you know what we're really missing in society? It's like a rite of passage. We believe that we're an adult.
Yeah, there's some things like that. Like,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're like, you're an adult, it's just because you turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
There's no actual, like, there's nothing that makes sure that you're worthy of being
Yeah,
in
I agree
society.
with that. I agree with that. I think that there's a lot of that is missing. I think it even happens for people that like leave religion, for instance, right? There's
Yeah,
like
okay.
you lose community, or you lose like these are certain things that were like human traits that
that help navigate us forward.
yeah
I
and
see what you're saying. Yeah.
help navigate us forward. And then like because we're a mixed society, we don't have anything like that, right? It's hard to
Yes, but
yeah
you know what religion is? It's like a kingdom. It's like a structure that we all follow because we have to follow it.
yeah
It's almost like
depends on the religion though. Yeah.
right, but what I'm trying to say is like if you have too much choice without any structure, then there's just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you create some sort of structure, whether it be like religion, spirituality, having a king tell you what the correct way forward is, you know, having a rite of passage, like there are these safeguards to make sure we're moving in the correct direction as a unified whole.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have those things in place, then we're just like running wild.
Right.
And this is how I feel right now. Like I feel like as a society, we're just running wild. It's like, why did we decide to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because collectively we just shouted the loudest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why there's one king for everybody. It's Jesus.
That's funny.
That's what they try to do, right?
That's really funny.
That's the message that is, right?
Facts, but even
We've lost
the
Jesus.
interpretation. No, that's true. I mean, even Kendrick Lamar's doing that. Like, that's what he wears a crown of thorns now. That allegedly costs like $3 million. Okay. But he says like, I wear this so that you can remember the greatest prophet to ever live. I like how he said prophet though. He didn't say Messiah or Savior. He said prophet.
Mm-hmm. Isn't Messiah the same thing?
No. A prophet is just like somebody who can direct, like a leader. Like a prophet's like...
Yeah, but isn't Messiah the meaning?
No, Messiah is a savior. So like, he came here to like save our souls.
Right.
He's like the human embodiment of God.
Mm.
But technically we're all the human embodiment of God. We won't even go, like that would just be a whole nother podcast. Okay, so final thing. We're about to go see Cirque du Soleil. I'm seeing it for the second time. And first time, like when I saw it, I came home and I was like, it's so weird that people specialize in skills that we totally don't even think about. Like, spoiler alert, like you were like, okay, they're gymnasts, right? Okay, yeah.
Well, I don't want to say just gymnasts. That's
but that's a legit thing. Like,
yeah, I know,
like
but it's such a like
but like the people that like can do those body contortions or like the strongman stuff. Like, yeah, there's a field for that, gymnast. It makes sense. But what you're gonna see today, spoiler alert, is the yo-yo guy. And I was like, what did you do? Like, what path did you take? You know, like it's just weird to see that those acts and then wonder
It's like, again, that's what I said. I was like, it's like the street acts.
It is like a street act, yeah.
And
yeah, for
it's
sure.
a lot of those people that are street acts, they're making money through, just random people
That's actually how
watching.
it started, though.
Yeah. But it's like, I think that they want is something like this, like to be able to get into Cirque du Soleil, doing
Facts,
something.
facts, totally. But when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is an alternate way of life. Like you're eating, sleeping, breathing this. Your body has become a temple. Like you cannot possibly do the things you did without taking this way seriously.
Yeah.
But this is an alternate lifestyle. And then when you see that, you're like, wow, other people, it goes back to the governance thing. Wow, you can like live your life in a completely different way. Like there is no defined path in life. And I think that's the most important thing that we need to realize, that we think that there's structure, but there's only like the structure that we see, you know? But if you continuously educate yourself, or like, you know, watch a YouTube video, read a book, or listen to a podcast, you're like, wait, other people are living differently.
Yeah. Again, I think, but that's why it's like, it's the far and few between, right? So most people, there is a structure, right? Just
that's why humans are.
That's what most people are, right? There will be the random
outliers
that feel like, no, I don't like this structure. This is not for me.
Totally.
And these are the ones who come out and become like part of the circus or Cirque du Soleil, because that's all.
They become the weirdos.
Yeah, they're technically, yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's true. Yes. Well, because it's not the norm. That's the category that they're categorized as, yeah.
So then, okay, so because it's not the norm, it goes into the idea of humans being a herd animal. Like we're a horde mind, you know, like a herd mind. And that's, again, why it's like, if you know that about humans, you probably need a really good leader to lead us forward. You know, but if you're asking the horde who's confused already, who should lead us? Well, we know that they're easily manipulated. There's a book I haven't read yet, but it's like The Madness of Crowds. Like the premise of the book is basically like in a group. Well, we see it as well. Like if you look at like gangs, right? If you put us all in a gang, it's like, oh, beat up that person. We'll all do it, right? But then you put that one person by themselves, beat up that person. They're like, ooh, should I beat up that person? You know, you start second guessing yourself when you're not in a crowd.
Yeah.
But I feel like society has become like a crowd. So we're just doing whatever we ever see that the next person is doing. And we're like, that's probably how I should behave. Unless you're in Cirque du Soleil, because then you just live completely differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll cut it there because we're going to be late. Till next time. Any final thoughts, Fish?
Be you. Yeah.
No, you can't be you. Not in our society. Even though we're saying we should be you. So it's a hypocrisy on itself. It's a paradox.
Be you in whatever context.
But what if I'm rude? What if being me is rude? What if being me is racist? What if being me is evil?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you gotta have a... That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Be respectful. I feel like that's my... Like, don't be you. Don't be you. I don't believe in that. I think you should be respectful, courteous, and kind to yourself, another, and the environment.
Okay, be you in your own space, but when you're with others, be respectful.
I'll agree with that one. Like, when you're at home, do whatever you want, bro. But when you go out in society, nobody wants that drama. Just be kind.
I agree with that. I'll agree with that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you see people like honking at each other, get out and start fighting, and it's like, dude, you're not respecting the other person. You know? But like, dude, I'm just living my truth, bro. My truth is I want that parking space. Right? So you can't trust another human being to do what they should. So we need a structure. Respectful, courteous, and kind. Yeah, till next time. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.
Bye. All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.